and welcome to Future Commerce, the podcast about cutting edge and next generation commerce. I'm Phillip, and I'm here live in Miami at Future Stores Miami, and I'm here with Brian Kennedy, who's the VP of Operations at Ministry of Supply. Welcome to the show.
Yeah, it's great to be here. I'm excited to talk.
You're speaking in just about an hour's time, and I'm intrigued. I think of Ministry of Supply as a direct-to-consumer sort of well, you're wearing Ministry of Supply right now, right?
Yeah, I certainly am.
In the direct-to-consumer category, doing workwear, and so you're at an in-store brick-and-mortar conference. I'm curious, what is the strategy that you guys are executing on right now, and what's the opportunity in brick-and-mortar?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think brick-and-mortar has always been kind of on our map. Originally, when we had just started, we started doing a little bit of pop-up and experimenting and seeing how pop-ups were working for us. And we saw pretty quickly that pop-ups were a good strategy to get to the market, but the longer you in the market, the more that being there paid off. So we wanted to be in those markets for longer. And so we originally had a pop-up in Boston, and we were lucky enough to have a lease that was a month-to-month lease. And so we kept renewing it, and that eventually got a little bit longer term, and months went to years, and now we've been on Newbury Street for 5 years now. And so we've used that same sort of strategy and tried to expand into markets that we know really work well for us and where our customers are, and so kind of going to them, putting our stores in places that they already are, and letting our customers experience our products offline as well as online, where we were born.
And it's a beautiful spot on Newbury Street. I've been there.
It is. It is very beautiful. So actually, we moved 3 doors down from the first spot that we originally took, and this one it's above grade. It's gorgeous. A ton of glass. Gets a lot of visibility, and it's on one of Boston's kind of premier shopping streets, Newbury Street.
We've done a good bit of research about the reemergence of local and local. Like brick and mortar and especially foot traffic driven businesses tend to be on the rise right now. It seems to be a growth category. What's the opportunity there for Ministry of Supply, and is your in-store customer, a different customer to the one that traditionally has shopped online for you?
That's a great question. I'll answer the second part first, which is that the mix offline is a lot more representative of the markets that we are in demographic-wise, and so. We were born online as a men's only brand, and then we launched women's. I think it was 3 or 4 years ago. So our online presence has skewed heavily male, and we've wanted to grow our female business and have equal kind of representation there. But foot traffic is a great place where it's both, right? People walking down that street are. Everyone's walking down the street in kind of equal rates, and so we do see a lot more people that are coming into the store relative to our online mix from equal genders, which has been really cool and helpful to grow that. And then for kind of an overall retail strategy for the next couple months and years, I think looking to find places where we can engage with a high number of our customers where they already exist. So we just kind of look at a couple different areas, either Pacific Northwest or in Texas would kind of be the next places that we might want to check out. It's
interesting. I believe it was Retail Dive that recently said that 40% of consumers have shopped direct to consumer. If you're tapping into local markets, do you think that there's been some sort of a strategic advantage to understanding where your customer is to plan where your next retail presence would be by being direct to consumer or digitally native first?
Yeah, that's a really good question. When we're looking at putting a store into a location, and then we're looking at sort of, we call it the halo effect afterwards of the e-commerce business, they go hand in hand. Really tough to discern causation, right? But if you put a store in your best market, they're both going to grow. But that's been something that's been on our radar, and something that we know is kind of, when a store goes in, you kind of see that lift both places.
Aman was recently on another show that I run called Merchant to Merchant. And he has had such an interesting sort of, I would say, bird's eye view of the whole business. He talked a lot about fundamentals for e-commerce, and I'm curious, are there fundamentals for in-store? And what does the in-store fundamental do that, and not to put words in your mouth, does engagement with the product directly change the way that customer lifetime value happens? Give me a little bit of an insight into what the in-store customer
I think For customers one thing that we've always known is for our product is heavily functional, and so it's something that is very, very tough to experience online. And retail stores give someone the opportunity to experience it in person, to try it on, to feel the fit, to feel the fabric. It's really good to know the product in a way that they can't do offline. So going back to fundamentals, that touch and feel, which is something that people have always touted as a huge advantage of resale, it's very, very true. And we see our conversion in store is significantly higher than e-commerce conversion. I mean, I think it's a function of traffic as well, but conversion offline is fantastically high, which is really exciting for us. And then as far as fundamentals go, I think it's running lean. It's trying to do the most that you can with the infrastructure that you're given. So one of the things that we rolled out was shipping from store, really running a lean inventory model, and then making sure that inventory was exposed everywhere, and trying to run stores in just a really responsible, profitable way.
You talked a minute ago about how you expanded category into women's. So I'm curious what your demographic is, or psychographic of a typical Ministry of Supply customer.
Yeah, good question. We would. There's a lot of different ways, and we speak with our customers very frequently. So we engage with them. We do lots of what we call Customer of the Week surveys and try to understand where our customers are at. As you mentioned the psychographs, not just the demographics. If I had to quantify it, I would say that they're kind of their upward trajectory of their career, kind of late 30s. They've got a lot of stuff going on in their lives. They're very ambitious, and one of the key things that we always hear across all of our customers is they wish they had more time. And more time is something that we always have tried to give them, and whether that comes from a shopping experience or from making suits that you can throw in the washing machine rather than bring to the dry cleaner. One of the moments that we love to talk about is that moment when you get home from work, and if you don't have to take your clothes off and change into something more comfortable, you can get kind of that 10 minutes. And oftentimes that's a really important 10 minutes to be with family. And so those are kind of the micro moments that we feel that we can offer that kind of element of time back to those customers.
I didn't prepare you for this question, but we were talking about it earlier.
Yeah.
You said that there's something really profound, that there are brands that sort of sit along a continuum of rational versus emotional purchase. Talk to me a little bit about that, because I think that's really fascinating.
Yeah, that's something that, we talk a lot about it internally, about there are a lot of different dimensions to purchases, and there's some things that are purely a rational purchase, and that's something that's just a need, and then there's things that can be romanced a little bit more, and that's where people are excited to hear a story, and that's when that sort of emotional part of the product comes out. And we see that there's brands that sit in both lines, and there's products that sit in both lines, but where you have a really emotional story to tell, and you have value that goes deeper than just, as I mentioned before, do I need these paper towels? Then that's where the chance for kind of a really great mutually beneficial commercial relationship between a customer and a brand can exist, that we can deliver more value, and a lot of that value is an emotional value, and the customers can receive that value too. So it's an interesting place, and that's where we sit, and we kind of see that as brands are able to target a more specific and direct audience, that they can talk a lot more authentically to that audience and a lot more directly, and that's when customers feel like they're being heard and they're being listened to and they're being talked to specifically in their to their own person, that they can engage on that emotional level, not just on the rational level. So,
are there sort of complementary brands, or what would your customer also be purchasing? We've talked a lot about this sort of Henry persona of high earner, not rich yet, and there's an idea of brands that they have an affinity toward. I'm curious what the Ministry of Supply customer has on their shelf at home, or what they carry with them to the airport.
We hear a lot of brands that are kind of in the same type space of ours. So brands like Toomey for luggage is something that people identify with. Tesla is one that we hear frequently, and one that is a bit surprising that I think that we like to hear a lot was Costco.
Wow.
People they really engage with just the pure value benefit of Costco membership, and buying bulk and the quality of the product that was there. So that's an interesting one that we've heard a lot about from customers.
You told me over breakfast that there was some sort of a survey that you had conducted to sort of understand maybe celebrity affinity in your customer psychographic. Talk to me a little bit about how you did that research and how that impacted ultimately the product or the marketing.
Yeah, that's a good question too. So we like to engage with our customers as much as we can. So we do weekly. We'll kind of send out surveys to customers who have had a good experience with the brand or came back for a repeat purchase. And outside of any marketing flow, we'll just have someone from the brand reach out and just say, hey, we'd like to learn a little bit more about you. It's just sort of an ongoing way that we can connect with our customers, and then we start our week internally with a summary of the customer of the week. And so we kind of ground ourselves in the week.
Really?
Yeah. Every week it starts off. The first thing we do a Monday morning meeting is customer of the week. So it kind of regrounds us in like, okay, here's the customer that we're here to connect with. We're here ultimately to serve these customers, and so it's a really kind of fun way, I think, to start the week. But to your point about who the public figure that inspires them the most, we've monitored it over the past 5 years, and some of the biggest ones that come up are entrepreneurs like Elon Musk and political figures like Michelle, Barack Obama. Both have come up.
Wow.
Yeah.
Does that change the way that you think about your own product, and do you sort of then reorient the product itself around, what would Elon wear?
Yeah.
Or
100%. It challenges our perception every week.
Mm-hmm.
Every week there's always one tidbit or one kernel of information that you think why did they say this? Like, what were they thinking when they wrote that? And so we always are able to kind of discern a little bit from that. One thing we always like to do is kind of read between the lines. A fun question we ask our customers is, how do they like their coffee? I would say 80 to 90% of our customers are oddly specific with how they take their coffee. It's an Americano with oat milk and a teaspoon of sugar, or whatever it might be, but they know exactly what they want, and they're very particular.
Right.
And so we're actually able to read into that and say, okay, this is, there's an underlying sort of common trait of particular, like that our customers are particular, and we're able to find that through that kind of customer of the week survey.
Oh my gosh, that's brilliant. I do a lot of these. Mm-hmm. I speak to a lot of brands. I rarely hear that sort of level of understanding or intimacy of how the customer thinks. Do you think that that's what sets you apart? And it seems like a tremendous investment on behalf of your brand to understand sort of on a weekly basis more deeply how your customer thinks. And not to put words in your mouth, do you think that that's a competitive advantage for you, or is that just sort of modus operandi?
I mean, it's part of our DNA. I would be shocked at brands that don't do it. I think it is critical to understand who your customer is and understand how the customer is changing. So getting real live snapshots of that customer every week, for the life of a brand is a really valuable asset, kind of as you said, and definitely has influenced our product decisions and our branding and marketing decisions in ways that we're not actively considering, right? But if we start every week like that, then it's definitely rolling through.
That's a great way to sort of percolate those, or bring back to the forefront of your memory what is important and why you're here as a brand. Tell me a little bit about the panel you'll be sitting on here in just a few minutes. Yeah,
we're going to be talking about omnichannel, and so something that we've been fortunate enough to kind of have been born after omnichannel was after separate channels were really a thing. So we've been really fortunate to be on a platform and to always have thought of our customers as a single customer that happens to engage with us on 5 to 10 different platforms or channels. So it's something that is a core of our DNA, but yeah, we'll be speaking a little bit about omnichannel and kind of how we see that rolling in the future.
Okay, well, wish you the best of luck.
Cool.
Thank you so much for joining us. Brian Kennedy.
Thank you very much.
It's a pleasure, always a pleasure to be talking about Ministry of Supply, and it's a pleasure for you to have spent some of your valuable time listening to Future Commerce. We want you to lend your voice to this conversation. The best way to do that is at futurecommerce.fm, and give us your feedback. Tell us how you're engaging with your customers and how you're learning more about them and trying to understand who they are. And leave us a feedback. Give us a 5-star on Apple Podcasts or anywhere where podcasts are found. Much appreciated. Remember, we're not here to predict the future. We're here to help you shape your future. Thanks for watching.